How's it going? Good morning. Welcome to Walsh's Playbook. That's former Raiders offensive coordinator Tom Walsh. I'm Grant Cohn. Today we're going to be talking about John Lynch a little bit. He went on the radio recently and seemed to have changed his tune about his expectations for this season. We're talking about Tom's expectations for this season and what the Niners can expect against the Titans on offense and defense. Today's episode is brought to you by Rula Online Therapy. Therapy that doesn't break the bank. These are sessions that can cost as low as $15. You get full support from start to finish. Top tier providers only, and everything's in one place, whether it's therapy or medication management. Thousands of guys have already used Rula to finally get the care they needed. Don't keep putting it off. Go to rula.com/cone and get started today. That's rula.com/cone. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health. It's also brought to you today by 1-800-CONTACTS. You can get your exact contacts delivered to your door with their easy online ordering and fast free shipping. Plus, they have a best price guarantee. So if you find your contacts at a lower price, they'll match it. Getting contacts doesn't have to be a hassle. Let 1-800-CONTACTS get you the contact lenses you need right now. Order online at 1-800-CONTACTS.com or download the free 1-800-CONTACTS app today. All right, Tom, we've been talking about whether the Niners are contenders or not for weeks. Now John Lynch is talking about it, and he acknowledged that the NFL is wide open. I guess he just noticed. Do you think the Niners are better than they expected to be? I mean, they really set the bar pretty low earlier this season.
Well, Grant, first of all, when we first started discussing this months ago, we talked about how the Niners had probably the easiest schedule in the league this year based upon last year's record and all that and how it was laid out, which would obviously give a team hope for being able to make a playoff run, especially when you have as many talented players as the Niners have. And they were beset by some injuries. Lynch did come out and kind of lowball the whole thing and tried to, play the woe is me card. But, as a player and as a coach, I would hate to have my GM out there as the mouthpiece of the organization. And here I'm busting my butt, lifting weights, running, stretching, diet, nutrition, and all that. And then I got Lynch out there saying, we're going to be so-and-so. But then I had told you earlier this year, I thought that the Niners should go at least 12-5.
You did say that.
13-4.
It's playing out that way.
And, one of the big reasons why, despite the injuries that have beset the Niners, is the parity, AKA / mediocrity, of the NFL has opened the door for them to go forward and have as good a shot at getting to Levi Stadium in February as anybody else in the league.
I think this is what's confusing the 49ers, because when they look at their team, they see a team that's not nearly as good as the one they had in 2023 or 2019 when they went to the Super Bowl and lost. So how could this team be the one that wins the Super Bowl? But I don't think it's necessarily about their team. It's more about the rest of the league. What team in the league is so dominant this year?
Well, Grant, I think this is the case where the competition is falling back to you as opposed to you trying to have to measure up against a quality level of competition, which obviously is lacking this year in the league. And so I think you're finally seeing the culmination of the front office on Park Avenue, New York, preaching about the benefits of salary caps, the reverse order of drafting predicated upon the losers get the pick first, etc. All those things are playing together now to bring the league back to the middle of the pack. And of course, the league loves it because it keeps the fans in the game longer, more eyeballs on TV watching ball games because their team still has a shot. And this is playing perfectly for, the NFL, who wants to gin up more revenue. So it's laying out as they would wish it would be.
Right. So when Purdy was on that rookie deal and they had all those players, like 9 players in the top 100, they felt like they were a juggernaut. That's not the norm in the NFL. The norm in the NFL is you have a mediocre team and you're either mediocre plus or mediocre minus. And right now, the Niners are in that same boat with everyone else. So why not them? I mean, they have an easy schedule. They get to face a rookie this week. They get to face a grandpa the week after. Seems like it's breaking their way.
You still have a chance to make a comeback if you want to get into the NFL. You're younger than Rivers. My goodness.
What do you think of the Colts and Rivers doing this?
Well, I tell you what now. The one thing about Philip is the guy's a bright guy. He's had a relationship with the head coach for 8 years when they were with the Chargers. He
Right.
knows the offense. Uh, and I remember George Blanda for the Raiders for years. At 48 years old, trotting out there throwing a touchdown pass as a backup quarterback, kicking a field goal to win a ball game. So, anything can happen. I tell you, this may inspire the Colts to really boost up their level of protection when they know they got a rocking chair quarterback back there, not a guy mobile and average, and they may rise to the occasion and support Rivers if he gets on the field.
Have you ever seen an example of a quarterback taking 5 years off and then jumping back into a playoff race?
Well, no, but I've seen guys who've been sitting on the bench for 3 or 4 years and then
That's true.
making the comeback. So you
That's
never
true.
can discount it. The other thing about the Colts now, they do have a good running game. You got to like Jonathan Taylor, the running back. So as
Yeah.
long as I can prop up the quarterback with a great running game, hey, that takes the burden off of him. I got more play action opportunities. So therefore, he's not going to have to drop back on third and long all the time and be exposed to great pass rushers and things like that. So you can kind of minimize some of the advantages of a great defense if you can run the football.
Which teams in the NFC? I mean, we acknowledge the league's wide open. There's no team that the Niners necessarily can't beat. But which team in the NFC do you think would be the worst matchup for the Niners in the playoffs? Which team would they want to avoid if possible?
I go back to this. Go down to LA, look at the Rams. Now, I know Stafford, they laid an egg a couple of weeks ago against Carolina. He throws a couple picks, I think one of which went for a pick six. But I still think Sean McVay, when it gets down to, as we used to say, nut cutting time, he is the guy who's going to come up with the creative game plan. And Stafford has got some great wide receivers. He's got the Puka Nakua, who just is catching the ball like he's got Velcro all over his body. He's got Devontae Adams, who's a touchdown maker. He's inside the red zone. He's a legit 6. And then they're bringing back the Atwell guy, who's got only 4 or 5 catches, but hell, he had a 68-yarder for a touchdown. So they've got some explosiveness, and they have a decent running game.
And they have all those tight ends.
They've got some good defensive rushers, and they're playing well with little Chris Shula, David's son, as the defensive coordinator.
Okay. And what about like Green Bay? I guess who's scared of Matt LaFleur in the playoffs, right?
Well, they've lost some offensive players. The tight end went down. The wide receiver's been hurt back on. Jacobs has been dinged and banged up. And so they do have a very good defense. Mm-hmm. Of course, they've got this guy wearing jersey number 1, who's not a bad ball player either. That helps. A guy named Micah Parsons. So you got to always consider them. But if I can get them in Levi Stadium in the playoffs rather than in Green Bay, I've got a weather advantage unless it's pouring rain in the Bay Area. But still, I like the matchup against Green Bay.
Let me ask you this. A month ago, the trade deadline came and went. The Niners didn't make a move, and sort of the implication is that they didn't really think this was the year. Let's say the trade deadline were tomorrow. Do you think the 49ers would still do nothing, or do you think, given the fact that they've won the last 3 games and what the rest of the league looks like, they'd be active?
Predicated upon the past 3 or 4 weeks, I think the Niners said, let's play with who we have.
Oh, interesting.
Well, who out there available now would be a dramatic difference maker for them as a edge player?
Yeah, those trades have already been made.
Correct. So why am I going to go shopping at, Salvation Army when I need a legitimate, 5-star quality player if that's the one guy I need to get me over the top from a defensive perspective?